Welcome to Thursday Flow once again. So, before we begin, if you haven't got a pen and paper, I suggest you do so, as writing down your ideas, your thoughts is important, particularly in this session. Often it's just a listening session, but today's session is very much a get in there and dive into it session. Writing things down matters. Believe it or not, there is research to validate the old fashioned idea of writing out lines. Good heavens, you might say. But it is the combination of both the physical writing, the thinking, and if possible, the speaking as you do so, which engages more than one area of the brain. So, I would like for you to take a few moments to ask you to reflect on the year that was, because this little talk is all about having made those wonderful goals and aspirations at the beginning of the year. And perhaps for some of us, we've slowed down and the reality of life has set in, and our dreams and our ideas have been pushed to the side. So, when my coach mentor set us to this task, I shrank and felt really small, thinking that I'd achieved absolutely nothing because I'd spent the year, presumably, putting cancer behind me. But in reality, I was focused on the 3 weekly blood tests, watching the thing escalate and researching the alternative therapies, putting them into practice and like waiting for the next blood test to say victory was happening. And I felt totally consumed by this. However, the light bulb moment came when she verbalized my thoughts of achieving nothing and said, "Now I want you to flick through your camera roll on your phone and see the reality of last year." Oh my gosh, I was amazed with what I had achieved. Small in comparison to most years, but achieved nonetheless. Another week's ride for charity interstate with my magnificent mare. No mean feat following chemotherapy on the Monday and driving 6 hours on the Friday. Perhaps not one of my brightest ideas, but tick that box. We did it. And the others? They weren't so big, but they were certainly worthy of acknowledging to myself. So, why is this review important? Because this is a conversation around the mindset, the energetics, the strategy of being able to build goals for ourselves and following through with them. Because whether you set a goal or not, we are all going to move through another year, God willing, and you can look back with satisfaction at what you have achieved, or you can meander through it. It's a lot like the rabbit asking Alice in Wonderland, "Where do you want to go?" And she replies, "Oh, I don't know." To which he responds, "Well, any door will take you there." There is no purpose, no direction, and like a ship tossed at sea, you will be buffeted about by whatever comes your way, as opposed to staying firm on your course. So, I invite you to put me on pause and take a few minutes and go look through your camera roll. But don't just look, write them down in your journal, acknowledge those achievements. Back again? How many of you had an oh my gosh moment, realizing that you had actually achieved more than you thought? Celebrating you for your achievements. Well done. Congratulations. Now, looking back over those achievements, were there occasions when you were brave? Haha, notice I didn't ask if you were fearless, but were you brave? Because bravery consists of stepping out in spite of the fear, doing things in spite of the fear. Where did you show up when it would have been easier not to? Look back and reflect where those moments were. For some, depending on your health, it could be as simple as having the courage to get out of bed and face the day from a different place, from a different angle, sitting up instead of lying down, on the veranda in the sunshine instead of in the bed. It could be a whole range of things from minor to major, like showing up as a dedicated mother to actively support your child's sporting team, whatever. Doing something for yourself. So, how are you now feeling about yourself? Good? Chuffed? satisfied, proud even. That's your posture. Stand tall and strong with the knowledge and satisfaction of what you have achieved. You are a person who achieves. You are already successful, and knowing that is so very important to our posture, our belief in ourselves. And that's something we carry over into 2026. Whether we do the exercise or not, it carries over because the posture that you have is how you feel about yourself and the things that you are accomplishing or making an impact in your own life. Remember, we don't rise to goals. We act in alignment with who we believe we are. And that's the core of and the basis of projecting ourselves into the future and imagining what it is like being that successful person. Living, breathing, walking, talking posture of the person you want to become. For example, those who have been in one career for most of their lives and then decide they want to change or go from an employee to an entrepreneur building their own business. That's a whole new mind shift. If you see yourself as someone rebuilding, you act differently to someone who sees themselves as a victim of circumstances. Someone who is rebuilding takes control of herself, her decisions, and her direction. She moves through the ups and downs, continually focused on moving forward, while the other person seems to be dictated to by circumstance. And that's very sad. It's a sad place to be, stuck. So, what identity did you carry in 2025? Survivor? Fighter? Tired? Hopeful? Successful? Again, put me on pause and take a minute to reflect and write down your thoughts as to why you placed yourself in that category. Back again. I want to briefly touch on your environment now. How important your environment is to your well-being and belief in yourself, the environment that I can control. You know, there's lots of things in our environment that we can't control. The outside noise, the stimulus, the weather, snakes on the back veranda, for goodness sakes, and things like that. But when you're in your own home environment, that space is yours. Be it a desk in the corner or a complete room, you get to be able to fill it with what appeals to you to help you feel comfortable and in your space. Whether it's books, whether it's quotes, whether it's pictures of family or animals, things that are important to you. That's a space that is positive and uplifting. So let's get down to some nitty-gritty about goal setting, hey? I have heard both Mary Morrissey and Abraham Hicks and multiple other people talk about dreams and say that if you get the idea, it's achievable. For those who believe in the higher power, those women explain it as Source, God, giving us the ideas to accomplish. For me, the greatest example of a far-fetched dream is Nelson Mandela's vision of becoming president. Who would have thought it possible to go from a prisoner to a president? So if you believe it, you can achieve it. My words. But Henry Ford is famous for his quote, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So get ready. Be prepared to be the you were created to be. And you will set the world on fire. And if not the world, at least your world. In my little space, I keep a book that I pop quotes into. It's little positive quotes and books that go towards supporting yourself in accomplishing those goals. Because it does take effort. It takes consistent effort. And sometimes you just need to open a book or your book of quotes on a certain page in the morning, and there it is, inspiration, the encouragement. For me today, the quote was, there is no passion to be found in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. Wow, That was so powerful for me this morning, because sometimes it is not easy for me to get lost. It is not easy for me to get lost. It is very easy for me to get lost in the now of where I am physically with the cancer story. I think that's really powerful to also remind ourselves, if we wouldn't have the idea, we wouldn't have the delusional dream if we actually weren't able to achieve it and love it. It's a reminder for you to be able to step into your potential and live your dream, your passion. So I invite you to look around the room you're in right now, or think upon your desk area. Does it support who you're becoming? Ask, what needs to leave? What needs to be added? Can anything be added? What energy does your desk hold? Is it cluttered, disorganised, or tidy and organised? And now write down what you need to do to change it, if anything. And here's a 24-hour challenge for you, because knowledge is not power, it's the implementation of the knowledge. Here's your 24-hour challenge. Take the action to remove any clutter, even if it is just 3 items. Act upon, is there room or opportunity to add an inspiring object? I'll leave that one with you. So now let's look at 2026. Why do you want 2026 to be different? Write it down. Now, there might be someone at this point who really doesn't know what their dream is right now, and that's okay. Simon Sinek had a great book that says, start with why. Start with the why. And I could relate to that, because after the divorce and I was left a shattered wreck physically, emotionally, and financially, my why became, I did not work all my married life to end up on the scrap heap. Underlying that was the urgent need to rebuild both myself and my finances. That was my why. And, initially it was a negative, and then I learned how to rephrase that and flip it into a positive. Did I have a how? Absolutely not. However, this is where quality books come to the force, and once again, my favourite author, or one of my favourite authors, Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich, had the answer with the next step. The next step was to see my future self as that successful woman living her life, having accomplished that goal, not as the woman in her current situation. My gosh, was there a difference between the two? This step is vital. It's telling your subconscious that you are that person already. And your subconscious, together with the universe, God, divine, providence, whatever you want to call it, steps in. And so, with that conviction, that desire, that dream, the universe began to slowly put ideas into my head and opportunities crossed my path. So that was my why, and the how simply evolved. So you will thrive in creating more passion and purpose for yourself by having your why come before your how. Clarity precedes strategy, in other words. Identity precedes action. So let's take another minute to step into the future and visualize the future you. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in. How does she talk? Is she talking with confidence and assuredness? I believe so. She knows who she is and what she is about. How does she walk? With confidence in herself and who she is? Just picture her walking, shoulders back, head up. She knows who she is. She knows what she wants. She knows where she's going. She's got the confidence. How does she feel? Well, quite jolly good, I would imagine, and proud of her achievements. Take a deep breath in and out and open your eyes. So, folk, this is an ongoing exercise, one I do several times a day, and one you should be doing daily to cement the image, the feeling into your subconscious. What you think about is what you attract. The law of attraction. It just filters into our lives in so many subtle ways, doesn't it? And now for our final exercise before we close. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and imagine yourself December 26. What have you achieved? How are you feeling about that? How have you changed? Who have you become? What was the quality that carried you there? And now, with your eyes still closed and thinking upon those things, if you were to bring to mind one word that described the you in that process, what would that word be? Lovely. So why that word? What does it require of you? What happens? What habits support it? Think upon it. Take a breath, open your eyes. I have to confess to having 3 words. I couldn't just stop at one. And they are courage, strength, and inspiration. I have the courage and the strength to forge ahead into good health. Man, that takes lots of courage doing the path that I'm going on. I want to be an inspiration to others, someone who uplifts and encourages others. So, what word or words are you going to choose for you and why? What do they encompass for you? I really encourage you to be able to follow your soul, nudge the first word that comes to your mind, follow that, because it's going to help you through the year and it's going to help you come back to yourself. Because I can guarantee that there will be times throughout the year when you're going to get buffeted about like a ship in a storm. And you will need your why and your words to keep you afloat and get you back to the helm to steer you through the storm. So when the storms come, and they will, I can guarantee that, your word is your anchor and your why is your compass. With heart, Margherita. Talk to you next time.